Some of the biggest business opportunities don't announce themselves. They start as signals that only a few recognize early. The ability to spot these signals, understand what's scalable, and act with clarity is what separates today's leaders from tomorrow's market makers. Our next session, The Next Billion-Dollar Business Models and How to Spot Them First, will bring this conversation to the forefront, exploring how to identify emerging trends, evaluate high-potential ideas, and recognize patterns that point to real growth. Please join me in welcoming our moderator, Dr. Hany Demian, MD, founder and CEO of Praesentia Healthcare. You can come to the stage as I call your name. Welcome. Along with our panelists, Erika A. Rosenthal, co-founder and managing partner at Veritac Group. Welcome. Martin Kilmer, Chief Operating Officer at Gravis Law, PLLC. Michelle Carroll, founder and CEO of Lexcura Summit Medical Legal Consulting. And Gueston Smith, founder and chief design officer at Guesscreative. The stage is all yours, experts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You hear me? I can hear myself, right. My name is Hany Demian. I'm going to start by introducing myself, then introducing everyone else in the panel. We've got a really great panel here. And I know it's a long day. It's been a long day for myself and probably for a lot of us. So we're going to try as much as possible not to put you to sleep and wake everyone. I'm Hany Demian. I am a physician, longevity medicine, regenerative medicine, chronic pain specialist. I built my practice as a chronic pain management. Then I discovered the need for chronic pain management, so I built a company around it. And after 10 years, decided to grow the company. Bought my partner out a few years back, and we bought a company in Florida for spine surgery, which sounded great at the time. And then discovered that chronic pain is not a single organ problem. It's a multi-organ failure problem. So we looked at the body as a whole, and we decided to switch to longevity, regenerative medicine, personalized medicine into stem cells, PRP, peptides, and optimizing people's health, looking into our healthcare system, and decided that it's been a reactive medicine, and I've been practicing reactive medicine for a while, so we decided to be more proactive, and this is where company is positioned now, and we've been doing great and growing, and I can't wait to share a lot of stories with you during this panel. I'll leave the mic to Erika.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everybody. I want to compliment you all for avoiding the lure of the casino and sticking this out. I'm with Veritac Group, and we are all former operators within Veritac Group. We've all had our own businesses and exited. I've had 3 exits. Now we're doing management consulting for mid-market firms on the growth side of the equation to help them scale. We're often brought in by the private equity or investors when a company is stalling for whatever reason or has a major inflection point. And but sometimes the CEO as well. And we enjoy helping others succeed.
My name's Martin Kilmer. I'm a 30-plus year veteran in legal tech. I don't say that to many people. I'm actually happy to see you here because the next billion-dollar idea, I think, surprised the room's not completely packed because we have the answers for you. I currently work for Gravis Law. We are a 50-attorney-plus firm. We're nationwide. We focus on B2C and B2B practices, so pretty much everything across the board. We are a tech-enabled firm. We were founded by 4 gentlemen who decided that the practice of law needed to change, and we wanted to look at it from a technology perspective. Our motto is law uncomplicated. We enable our attorneys. We build our business. We have our own case management system. Our objective really is to use modern technologies and capabilities to grow our firm and serve our clients while still maintaining the personal relationship that's required to be a good attorney. We'll talk a little bit more when the questions come around about how that's enabled. how these things are enabling law to grow and become billion-dollar businesses now. But really, as we look forward, maintaining that integrity, we've heard all day long about the threats of AI and what it does to humanity while we become more efficient, how tech is a driver of business, and we're going to talk a little bit about that because it does play into every billion-dollar idea these days.
Hello, my name is Michelle Carroll, and I'm the CEO and Chief Clinical Strategist for Lexcura Summit. I translate large amounts of, I'm the nervous one. I take large amounts of clinical notes from, oh geez, I am so sorry. I can't settle down. Okay, so my company was set up 3 years ago. It's designed to translate medical records for attorneys, but in a very special way. It changes them by using a new model that I have developed myself. It's the very first one of its kind, and it brings three things together. It brings medicine, law, and critical thinking. But I'll talk to you about that later.
Nice. How you doing? My name is Gueston Smith. I'm the founder of Guesscreative. We design and build spaces that move. What that means is we design and build deployable infrastructure. So that's the intermediary in between fixed construction and your pop-up tents. So we design spaces that allow businesses to take their environment directly to the consumer instead of having them come to them.
Might be the next billion-dollar business.
We're working on it.
Erika's practicing. All right, so we'll start with the question to Mr. Kilmer. Legal services have historically resisted disruption. What structural changes are finally creating space for scalable, high-margin legal business?
Well, so there's many things to talk about, but I'll focus on three of them. One is certainly technology. If you go back to when I started my career, we entered data on IBM cards. I did say I was old. But over time, technology has really changed the legal market, the commoditization of content, the acceleration of the ability for attorneys to do work much more efficiently has really changed the landscape. So that's certainly one of them, is the advent of technology. Up until today, when you look at the two-letter word that we don't say out loud, and the impacts of it on the practice of law. When I started out years and years ago, we tracked everything in 6-minute increments. Today, with technology, you can do a full contract and do a full case in about 6 minutes. And the ABA requires, the American Bar Association requires that you can only charge your clients based on the time spent if you're doing hourly billing versus value-based billing, which is really based on flat fees and accomplishments of a task. So how we track and change how we relate to our clients has also changed due to technology. The second really component that's going to drive $1 billion legal infrastructure is alternate business structures. More than 10 years ago in the UK, they started to allow non-attorneys to invest in law firms. Well, that's now coming to the United States. If you watch the news from Arizona, for example, these alternate business solutions are now allowing the Big Four to invest in law firms. And traditionally, that was not allowed because of the RPCs, the rules of professional conduct for attorneys, to avoid bias and things within the law. We basically said only attorneys can be in law firms. Big corporations and outside investors can't do so because it creates bias and conflict and all the things we wanted to avoid. So that's the second one. That's changing and evolving in the United States, and a lot of PEs and others can now start to invest in law firms, which changes the amount of dollars that can be used to grow a firm. The third one's really called managed service organizations. It's really separating the practice of law from the business of law. I like to think about it this way. The practice of law is the personal relationship that an attorney has with their clients. It's you coming in and talking to me about your issues, whether it's your divorce or your business or your bankruptcy. That's our one-to-one relationship. That's the practice of law. The business of law, what goes on behind the scenes, how I bill you, how I run my HR organization, how I run my tech organization or my finance organization, and those can be separated out and become the business of law. Now, from a structure perspective, because of ABS and others, we can take those two things and invest separately in them, grow through structure, keep the relationship side of a client relationship between an attorney and a client separate. Those three things are significantly changing the practice of law and allowing for a lot more investment and growth within this sector.
So let me ask you the question that everybody has in mind. Do you think AI will ever replace lawyers in law firms? Will be, I'm having a contract. I don't see myself having a $100 million deal on the table and going to AI to draft contracts. Would you ever see this happening?
Not 100%. And the reason for that is you still have humans involved in legal industry. There will be a significant shift. I'm not going to say it won't be 85 or 90% of that will be done by technology. You still need to have the relationship between the client. I need to have somebody I trust. I need to have someone to talk to. There's an emotional component about practicing law, particularly in areas like family law and estates. I still need to have a person that I can talk to, I can relate to, and that understands me as a human, because it's not all tech. And what we find in the law is the empathy and relationship from a personal side with our clients is a key component, and that does not go away as long as it's not just machines talking to machines.
I would agree. I'm glad somebody will be safe. This question is for Erika. Describe a moment when you recognized the market shift before it became obvious. What signal tipped you off, and how did you move on it? But before that, would you mind just talk briefly about the 3 successful exits that you had before? And
the 3. I can talk about those a little bit. One was in mental health. We started with 6 clinics and grew that to, well over 100 clinics that were coast to coast. And we did it through COVID. Another one was spine surgery. We had spine surgery clinics that were all over the country with a minimally invasive spine surgery. And that one sold, and then you see a trend here in healthcare. And then another one was really from the ground up, which came out of a University of Miami heart disease trial where there were too many exclusion criteria for the patients, and we decided to do a patient registry system, which is a different way of getting people helped. And we focused on no option heart disease, and that one was taking cells from their bone marrow or fat cells and putting them in through the femoral artery into the heart. And that one, all of them sold in less than 5 years. So they were fast, and that was good. I would say it was sometimes it's being in the right time in the right place. It's just luck sometimes. But the question that I've now forgotten.
Recognize market shift when it became obvious. What signal tipped you off, and how did you move on it?
Okay, we talked to a lot of CEOs in the work that I do, and one that came up just recently, and maybe somebody in the room has the solution for this, but when I started getting calls from the billion-dollar private equity group saying, do you know anybody that has ranking in AI? We want our portfolio companies to be ranked in AI, kind of like search engine optimization, but this is for AI, has a higher trust score because it's not keyword search, it's who is the best at doing this. And several of them are calling. That's what we call demand clustering. And when that happens separately, then there's something there. And I don't know who has figured this out. I think it's too early, but I bet you a lot of people are working on it. And I think that when that comes, whoever can capitalize on that and figure that out is going to have a pretty good business.
Incredible. So I will comment on this. You've been successful. You've been in the right time with the right idea. And I do believe this. I read this before. Ideas are not created, they're found. You can find them anywhere. You just need to quiet down and remove the noise, but that's an incredible track record. I'm going to go to Mr. Smith. How does design-led thinking change the way you identify or validate a market opportunity before money is spent? I had a course in Harvard a while back. It's called Design Thinking, and it's really been an interesting subject to me.
Yeah, so design thinking involves a lot of empathy. It involves a lot of foreseeing the user and how they would actually use the experience of the product or the service that you're developing. And so something that I foresee when I'm dealing with space is the space that we're developing that allows that portability, that movability, that adaptability, allows you to test reality before committing to real capital. So it allows you, instead of spending a significant amount on a fixed constructed space, you can then test it beforehand, test different markets, test different consumers, and then you'll have an accurate feedback loop to come back to what is actually working within reality.
That's great. I'm going to go, Ms. Carroll. What's the difference between a $1 billion idea and a $1 billion business model, in your opinion?
Well, hopefully my business is going to be a $1 billion company. I've been in healthcare for over 40 years. 20 of those years has been in leadership with a lot of regulation and compliance. While doing this, I saw a shift in healthcare litigation that stopped being about expert opinion and became data and structure problem. Attorneys are always dealing with massive amounts of clinical records. They're fragmented and increasingly in regulatory complexity. So what I was doing was looking at how can I bring healthcare law and healthcare together. Because at the moment, you've got healthcare doing things one way, you've got attorneys doing things the other way, but neither one knows what the other one is doing. Now, traditional legal nurse consultants reviewed records, and they did it by hand. So you've got to think how long that takes, especially if you're the one with a personal injury, for example, and you're 2 years in and you still haven't gone to court, because they're going through all of these records. Now, when these records go back to the attorney, they're getting the medical record. It's not broken down in any way. So it might be an order, and the attorney can go through, but what the attorney doesn't know is what does it actually mean? How am I going to use this in the courtroom? So I thought about what was really needed to bring these two together. Now, I was talking with somebody who was developing AI and developing AI for medical cases. And we together came up with a plan that I would use their AI if I could figure out a model that would work for both healthcare and law. Now, what I decided to do was have a pillar system. So the first thing that I had to do was make sure that we had baseline for the patients. We had to know where we were starting from. Did they have wounds before they were admitted? Did they have some other kind of disease or diagnosis? All those things have to be known first. Then you have to look at the medical records. Well, who's looking after them? Is it the hospital? Did they go and see their PCP? Are they seeing a nurse practitioner? or are they having home health? All these records mount up, and they're all fragmented, and nobody knows what the other one is doing. So unless you've got a complete set of all the records, there is no way you can translate that into litigation. So once we've got everything, we then have AI go through all of the pages of the records, the medical records. Now, what it will do is it will put it in order, just like a legal nurse consultant would. However, it does it in much quicker terms. Instead of taking months or years, I can now do a complete chart from start to finish and get it to an attorney's office in 7 days. That is a big change. Once I've got the records constructed, I then have to overlay that with regulation and compliance. And that will start to build patterns of what happened, when, why, and how, which is what the attorney needs to know. You need to be able to see when you look at these medical records when things actually happen. Was there low staff? Did somebody fall because nobody was able to look after them? Or was there a different cause? By looking at it with the causation through regulatory and compliance eyes on top of the medical record, you can go through that and scan it and build it up with a clinician. I must point that out. The clinician will go through the record after AI, because AI cannot make decisions or tell you what's wrong with the patient. There's too much nuance to be able to do that, and it can't make the decisions for what's going on. However, when we've got the AI, we can then put it into the clinician's hands, but it's easier for them to scan through, to look at the patterns and see if they're correct. And if there is something that looks wrong, they can go back and say, well, this wasn't done right, but why? And that's the main thing that AI can't do, but clinicians can. So clinicians will never be without a job, but this makes it much quicker. So once we have that back from the clinician and that everything is set out, we then go into the final phase. The final phase is when we start looking at legal strategy. What can the attorney use and take into the courtroom for his next case without having to spend hours going through the information? So we're turning thousands of pages of medical records into something between 10 and 20 pages so that the attorney can see exactly what went on with that patient during that time. And like I said, we get that back within 7 days instead of months or years. And that's my model. I have a book coming out at the end of the year, just put that in there. The model is called the Lexcura Clinical Intelligent Model.
That's great. Nice. I will start by thanking you. I don't think AI will replace clinician or healthcare provider, in my opinion. Who in this room believe that AI will replace healthcare provider? Would you mind raise your hand? Nobody thinks. All right, that's amazing. So people who are scared that AI will replace health providers, it's not going to happen. And those who are trying, I will tell them, stop it. It's not going to happen. So AI would be a nice tool, in my opinion. Will be like our stethoscope as a physician or a microscope or whatever, but it will never, ever replace the doctor's touch. It will never replace the provider who's going to look at the patient and understand their daily activity, what they do, what their life like, what their dreams, hopes, and will tell them, you know what, we don't have an answer now. But who knows, maybe we'll have an answer in a few months or next year. So I really don't think AI will replace. I was watching an Elon Musk interview, and he said that in 3 years we'll have surgeons in the OR, robotic surgeons in the OR replacing surgeons, and 5 years will be the best surgeons ever. I highly doubt that. I don't think it's going to ever happen. They might help during surgery. We've got robotics now in the OR that helping with procedures, but will never ever replace them. Sometimes they slow us down in our work, and we have to turn them off and do the procedures ourselves. So I really don't think AI will go that far. It will be a good assistant, but it will never be a provider. So based on that, I would like to ask our panel today, how do you spot $1 billion business? Where would you put your money?
For me, I think it's going to be where is the greatest level of pain that's in the marketplace, and how can you solve that pain? But not just for top line revenue. I think it's the unit economics matter. So as you add more clients in, how does it get less expensive to deliver the service or the product to that particular client? I met a lady earlier. I promise I'm not giving plugs, but stand-up CEO of Spark recognized that ADD, attention deficit disorder, is growing, and she created a game that will help. I'm not going to tell your story, but go see her, take your checkbook. You're welcome. I think there's so much talent out there. That's on the innovation side. But if you look at mid-market companies, there are billions of dollars as a wedge that companies have out there now, that their constraint is capital because it's been tied up for so long. It's starting to break free, but not enough. Or people constraints. They don't have the bandwidth to get everything done fast enough. And so I think the real trick over the next few years is going to be who can execute. Who could execute well and fast enough that the imitators don't come and take over.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I look at a couple things, really. Scarcity. So water is a great one. It's not renewable. So there's things that we need to do. Yeah, we may get ice off Mars at some point, but at the end of the day, it's a resource that is not renewable right now, and so we're so dependent on it. It's ripe for innovation, and $1 billion. We've already seen this with the movement from taxis to Uber to now automated. The next is going to be flying cars, right? So it's watching legacy and historic industries and watch that evolution. I think you've seen this in social media, whether it's LinkedIn, YouTube, all of these. Things that impact the greatest market of people and transition across all businesses and personal life. If we look at things like Google historically, and this is how you see evolutions, things that cross from my personal life over into my business life are great opportunities for growth and billion-dollar ideas. But it's really watching the landscape, looking for legacy industries that have some scarcity. We talked earlier, if you were here, listen to how much our energy industry is in jeopardy and how much need there is even just to feed the demand today. Energy is another one where there's billions and billions and trillions of dollars out there from people who can crack that code. I think if you watched the news yesterday, Trump administration says they need 183 nuclear plants just to handle the demand today. And it's a place where if you can crack that code, there's lots of money to be had.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people with some great ideas out there that want to start their own business and they want to be successful. But from what I've seen, when people have these ideas, they run with it, but they don't think it through. So you have somebody with a great idea, they start off okay, but they don't think about the structure. They don't know how they're going to get to the end. So that's where everything breaks down, because if the systems, they don't know their systems and how they're going to move along the process and have it in a position where it can be repeated and it's not going to break and you can bring it up to scale, that's the only way that you're going to actually make your billion.
Yeah.
Remarkable. That's execution.
And I think
you always have a vision, but without execution, it's very hard. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think opportunities are harder to find if you're looking at trends, but if you're actually looking at the constraints to solve a problem And the larger the problem that you solve with the infrastructure that you said and the execution, then that's where you get to the real billion-dollar opportunities.
Amazing. All right, I'm going to leave an opportunity for our attendee here to ask questions. Anybody has questions? No questions. Would love to hear your story. Yep. There's a mic here. Yeah, there's a mic.
So my name is Chaya Malavaram, and I'm the founder and CEO of Spark Launch. At Spark Launch, we are building an AI-powered game-based platform for ADHD children and their families and educators and clinicians. Thank you. And we start with ADHD and then dyslexia, dysgraphia, autism. They all could overlap with an individual. And there's so much untapped potential in these individuals. And these are the inventors, creators, and the systems today are not built to support them. And as you mentioned, structure is one of the key aspects, building consistency in creativity. That is not taught in schools today. And so they could start off several projects and couldn't know how to continue developing their idea. And so we are the best place to start with is a child, because a child, what you teach a child stays with them through their life. And so we want to catch them young. And we want to enable them and tap into things that are not taught in school. And so in search of dopamine, they could go off in the wrong path. So we want to help them identify their own gifts and strengths and use that to do good in this world. And that's my goal. And my vision is truly global. And I want to, we already have a great team. From a thought, we are close to releasing our prototype. And we have a large network who will test and give us feedback. And we are looking at raising we are at early stage investment. We are raising $2 million. So if you have investors here in this room, please reach out to me. We have a great team and great collaborations already in UK and US. In UK, they have to wait 2 to 7 years to even get a diagnosis of ADHD. And they just suffer. Not knowing. And yeah, so the problem is real.
I love your initiative, Miss. How are you considering the learning environments for these children?
Sorry, you mean how are you considering?
The environments in which those students that you're
So we are building a game-based platform. It's so that's I'll leave it to that. But it's a environment which is conducive to their brain, so where they will naturally engage. So neurodivergent ADHD folks can not just focus, they can hyper-focus on things that they are interested in. And we have a podcast. We've been running this podcast for over 2 years. And we've interviewed, had amazing guests, amazing neurodivergent guests. So it's not that they can't focus. They can focus in the right environment. And so it's all about the environment, the platform that we are building.
And how do you reach those students?
So the students through parents. Parents feel the most suffering. Mm-hmm. There's so much conflict in homes today. Even though Neurodivergence there's a hereditary factor to it. Parents from our generation are not aware, and there's a stigma to it. But the conflict is real, the pain is real. And I experienced this firsthand with my son, who was diagnosed with ADHD, and that's when I realized, oh my God, that's me. I've always had ADHD, and explained the challenges, but somehow along the way, I had tapped into my strengths. So I studied accounting and finance, and always struggled with focus and procrastination, typical, classic, for 16 years, until I fell in love with technology. So it's when that I found that love for my work, and then being an artist. When you fall in love with your work, you don't have to make anyone try to focus. You naturally focus, and not just focus, you invent, because you're so obsessed with it. And that's beautiful. I will not do anything other than that. Thank you. Yeah. To find the love in people. I've taken on a big task, but I know we can get to it.
I'd love to talk to you about doing a deployable learning space or gaming space so that you can reach more students with a consistent environment.
Yeah.
That could be very interesting.
Yeah. And when you give autonomy, I'll give you a little clue. Autonomy to the player, they will do it. They need freedom in a safe environment.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Any questions, anybody?
I think you
Good
earned
luck
yourself
to
your
you.
first investor, so good luck.
Thank you.
Right.
I have a question for you. Ma'am. Ma'am. Right here. I'm trying to help you sell your idea. What percentage of people in the world are diagnosed with ADHD?
Awesome. Great question.
And what percentage of children are diagnosed with ADHD?
So since I'm focused on children, there are 11 million children who've been diagnosed with ADHD, and this is all the English-speaking countries, US, UK, Canada, and Australia. Just in the US, there are about 7 million, and these are just diagnosed. So there's many millions of others undiagnosed and just struggling, and there's a stigma to it. I know personally many people, friend circles, they don't want to hear the word.
Well, the number's growing.
I'm sorry?
The number is growing. With
The number is
increase of
growing.
computer
Absolutely,
usage.
because the children are evolving. You can't fit them in a box anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's about the box. So, and also you have to remember that name is very it's wrong, because they can focus attention. They can focus only if they want to.
I'm very familiar with ADHD.
Okay.
But my question for you is also, if we have such a large percentage, not just of children, but in our population, right? What are we doing to help them hyperfocus? Is this game, right? So what population is of that is your test market? Because you probably have a marketing test market, right? How many people are you testing? So when he's talking about getting in front of children, how do we help you get in front of more critical mass?
Yeah, so right now we have about 2 US schools and partnerships in UK, clinical partnerships in UK, and also 250 people who've signed up to test. And we've just built a small, because it's all tied to education and the US curriculum. My goal is knowledge. It's why education? Because the children today are not receiving knowledge. And knowledge, we all deserve knowledge. And so that's my test market. But
So
today,
where do they sign up?
But today, I've already made several partnerships, and you sign up at play.sparkade.app/waitlist.
We have one more question.
Yeah, I have a question for the panel. Thank you so much. Thanks for doing great work.
Thank you.
I agree that robotics will never be replaced. AI will not replace medical providers. Martin, you had given us the top 3 things that you think are going to be the billionaire ideas. Could the other 4 panels give me their top 2 ideas that you think will be billionaire things to watch?
In my opinion, I believe Health 2.0 or
You think will be $1 billion?
proactive medicine will be the next healthcare $1 billion at the end. It's proven. Regenerative medicine started a few years back with a $1 billion industry. Now it's almost $25 billion industry in 3 years. People are tired of reactive medicine. If you give them proactive medicine to live longer, healthier, optimized, personalized medicine without putting a lot of effort in it. All of us are wearing wearables, but 1,000 data point wouldn't make you healthier or wouldn't make you live longer. I think if there is a system behind that, tell you what to do and deliver this a white glove opportunity or protocols, I think that would be the next $1 billion in healthcare.
I'm going to add on to, it's also in the healthcare space because it's a space that I know and I see a lot of activity in. But do you know what percentage of every dollar you spend in healthcare, do you know what percentage goes to administrative tasks of that? It's 30 cents of every dollar, which I think is just ludicrous. And it illustrates why we have a broken system because it's become so complex with insurance, with the billing systems. And Michelle's already working on this, so she saw an opportunity. But where we have broken systems, complexity kills scale every time. So how do we streamline something so you can still deliver quality care, enable the provider to have more time with the patient, and take that complexity away? I do believe there are places that are working on that and companies that are working on that now and can achieve it in scale. And sometimes it's the most boring, dull things that are your $1 billion opportunities. If you look at Uber, Uber was like, okay, cool, we got social. I'm not sure I'm going to call somebody up I don't know who's not licensed. There was a lot of, is it going to work? And they were out there for a long time before it turned a profit. Same with Amazon, a delivery system and a backbone. Look at them now and where they are. So it is about seeing what it could be and removing the complexity from that. And I think the pace of that change is going to increase more and more and more with AI.
I'm going to add one more. So privatization of inefficient government structures today. We all tried to get to the airport to get here. Having to use TSA for that, for example, if that was private industry, it would be in a different situation. If I could replace some of the government things that are going on right now with private, I know that's a controversial topic, and so I won't go into other areas, but I think it's one that hits home right now. If that was a privatized industry, it would be multi-billion dollars very quickly, and you could grow your business from there.
So actually, I have an answer to one of the questions which was raised before. The question was about the adult population with ADHD. And there is 15.5 million people in the US, 6% of the population has adult ADHD. So it's very common. And if anybody has any question, I know about everything. I get awards all the time, and I can cure ADHD. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
You're up. Oh, should get that.
Wrap up. Okay. My idea would probably be to have someone teach the employees in healthcare, and I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying things are changing, how to write things in a way that shows how they're thinking. Because it's important when it comes to now going through healthcare and law and them both wanting to talk to one another, that the attorney is able to see clearly why a decision was made for a particular patient. So if someone can teach that in healthcare, I think they'd make $1 million.
And for me, spatial infrastructure that can move and scale like a network. If we look at patterns across time, you look how the phone has gotten smaller and more condensed and more portable. You look at how money has become more digital. It's moving away from handheld cash to more of a digital situation. But the last thing that it hasn't really evolved as space itself. And so the more opportunity we have to be able to utilize space in the adaptation of how humans move and adapt as people, if we had space that adapts in that same framework, that's going to be the next level, because now you can move your idea, your space at any place at any time. You can go to an event or a festival, or you can pop up in a new city showing the same environment for your business or your services.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.